welcome to Shore Support, a program that highlights organizations who enhance the lives of our community through charitable efforts. I'm your host, Nathan Magno, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing library services. When we think of libraries, it's easy to assume that they're nothing more than a place lined with books and study rooms. But there's so much more than that. From technology access, to community resources, to resource gathering, the library is a central hub for all ages. Today, we'll be joined by two guests to discuss the many services our libraries provide to the community. Now joining us is Jennifer Turner, librarian for Ocean County Library of the Toms River Branch. A pleasure to have you with us today, Jen.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what is the overall mission of the Ocean County Library?
The library's mission statement is connecting people, building community, and transforming lives. And this is something that the staff is super passionate about, and they work really hard to accomplish this mission, whether they're on the public floor or behind the scenes.
And especially because your specialty is within youth services. What are some of the most popular services your library offers for kids and adolescents?
Yes, our most popular program year-round would be our story time. So we offer story times for infants to 5 years of age, but coming up we have our summer reading program, which is so popular every summer. But this year it runs from June 1st to September 12th. Last year it was so popular we had over 2,400 kids registered, and they read over 46,000 books. So we try to make it fun to keep kids reading. So at Toms River, we have a volunteer group called the Friends of the Library, and they purchase prizes for the summer reading program. So when kids stop in, they can fill out a raffle ticket for every 5 books they read. And so the more they read, the more raffle tickets they fill out, and obviously the more chances they have of winning a prize, which is exciting. But throughout the county, there's a lot of fun programs going on throughout the summer, such as Snake Man, visiting the library, penguins from Jenkinson's Aquarium, glow paint parties. There's a lot going on at even the local branches throughout the county. And then in the library, we also have something that's been very popular is our makerspace. So the makerspace has 3D printers, they have Cricut machines, so folks can stop in and have images printed on coffee mugs, on t-shirts. It's great even for making gifts for people. They have STEM building materials like Legos, Magnetiles, and Squigs. And then at our Toms River and Jackson branches, we have a calming sensory space, and they have their own programs as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really cool, though. You have a lot of different opportunities and events for
absolutely
for kids in our community to gather.
Yeah.
But especially because on your website, you also have a dedicated section where you have games for kids to play on, but also programs to help with homework. What type of resources do you offer on your website, and how do they work?
We have a lot of databases that are free to use with your library card. So if you go to our website, www.theoceancountylibrary.org, and then you select a database to use, you would just enter the barcode that's on the back of your library card, the barcode number. One that's especially helpful for homework is called BrainFuse. So BrainFuse offers live tutoring available in English and Spanish. I found it especially helpful when I was in school and needed some help. And there's also a writing lab available where students can submit written assignments and receive feedback within 24 hours. There's also so many helpful databases. I can't go over them today or we would be here all day, but other ones include World Book Almanac, World Book Online and World Almanac. And one of my personal favorites is Scholastic Teachables. So Scholastic Teachables offers lesson plans and activities available for teachers and caregivers. So for example, if I was a first grade teacher and I wanted to teach kids about the life cycle of an apple tree, I could go on and type in apple tree and then limit the search to first grade, and then it would come up with activities and lesson plans that are available to me for free with my library card. So I know a lot of teachers pay for services like this to make this easier, but this is completely free as long as you have a library card.
And especially because it takes a lot of opportunities outside of just their normal primary education to seek additional resources like that. Especially because one of your primary goals at the library is this education initiative.
Yes.
Can you explain more on that topic?
Yes, our goal is to get a library card in the hands of every student. So we work hard to make that happen. We go out and we visit schools, and then we also have an educator card available that has extended borrowing privileges, so that when teachers have like projects with their students, they're able to keep items out longer, and it makes it easier for them.
Certainly, certainly. That library card is like an essential tool in that case, and especially because what is that process, right, for obtaining a library card, and what can that library card get you?
So, wow, that's a big question. So the process, let's go over the process for obtaining a library card. It's very simple. So an individual can walk into a library and fill out an application in person, but they can also do so online on our website, and then they can select whichever home branch they'd like to pick up a library card at. But the library cards are available for Ocean County residents, anyone who's a teacher, a librarian, a student, or a business owner in Ocean County. And we also have a reciprocal borrowing agreement with Burlington and Monmouth counties. So if an individual has a library card in any of those, other counties, they're eligible for an Ocean County library card. But an individual coming into the library would just have to show proof of their ID and their address to obtain the card. And now the library no longer charges overdue fines. So I know that's kind of a stress relief for a lot of people that, are kind of scared of fines or accruing fines. So if there's really any reason that someone should be hesitant for a card, our goal is to get a card into the hands of any Ocean County resident, every student. So we'll work hard to, work with someone to get them a card.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And especially because it extends across the whole entire Ocean County.
Yes.
So it's not just limited to Toms River.
Absolutely.
But
yep.
all of its surrounding.
Yeah, there's 21 libraries in Ocean County so once they receive a card, they can use their card at any of those branches.
And if someone were to wanted to participate in those events, do they need a library card as well to participate?
No. So actually, living on a shore community, we have a lot of shore residents, so you don't need a library card to attend a library program. There's also sometimes families visiting from out of town, and they'll just come with their family, but no, you don't need a library card to attend a library program. But if they want to check out library materials, they would need a library card.
Gotcha. And especially because your library is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. What events are planned, and how is your branch celebrating this milestone?
Yes, well, there's so much going on all year long until the anniversary on September 19th. So starting off throughout the year until then, we're having 100 prizes for 100 years. So that means anyone who's attending a program at the library can fill out a raffle ticket and then be entered to win prizes that are pulled monthly. There's also a design a bookmark contest, so people can design a bookmark about what the library means to them and win a prize that's available for all ages. There's also a 100 Years of Ocean County Library banner exhibit that should hopefully be going up in mid-May in the Toms River branch. So that's going to be an educational exhibit for all ages. And it's going to be really cool to see what the library looked like 100 years ago, and throughout the years. There's also going to be an actual celebration of the anniversary on Saturday, September 20th. At each branch, there's going to be activities, programs, cake, balloons, and Friday, September 19th, there's going to be a Ocean County Library Foundation Gala that's called Dancing Through the Decades After Hours at the Toms River branch. So for this, there's going to be music, a lot of food, activities, and of course, dancing.
But that's really cool that you can have all this celebration and just see how much impact you've made over a century worth here.
Yeah, it's really incredible. Cool. Yeah.
And especially because we want to make sure that the library is accessible to all, even for those who may be homebound, and especially because Toms River has homebound services.
Yes.
Can you explain more on that service that you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. The library has books by mail, so we can actually mail residents in the community that are homebound items in the mail, and then they can return them to us via mail. There's a home borrowers program where trained volunteers will actually visit residents at their homes once every 3 weeks to deliver and return items for them. We also have a mobile library service where the library right now, they visit about 30 life care centers each month throughout the county. So they either set up a mobile library in the life care center or they deliver items to them. And of course, for anyone, and including homebound residents, we always have our digital services available. So we have Libby and Hoopla and so many other apps, but where patrons can listen to audiobooks, read ebooks, and even stream music, television, and movies for free from home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
To still be able to access like that whole repository.
Yes, absolutely.
And especially because I want to touch back on a topic that you mentioned earlier of how the friends of the program are the ones like helping support all these different events. Could you explain what that program's all about and how it supports your services?
Yes, absolutely. The Friends of the Library are a group of volunteers that work to support the library, especially financially. So, for example, they host book sales and other events to raise money for library programs, for supplies for programs, for resources for the library, even library furniture they've purchased for libraries. But they're a super passionate group of volunteers that really support us and support our mission, and we wouldn't be able to do as many great things as we're doing without them. So we appreciate them so much.
Wow, but they really do give you that push and that outreach. So how can people in our community volunteer at the library?
Yes, that's a great question. So on our website, we have volunteer applications. So there's a volunteer application for teens, and then there's a volunteer application for adults. So for teens ages 12 to 18 are eligible during the school year to volunteer. But in the summertime, we have a special volunteer program called SAIL. It's very popular. I think last year, I just want to make sure I give you the right numbers if I could.
Certainly.
We had throughout the county over 400 teen volunteers over the summer, logging about 7,000 volunteer hours. And that's for ages 13 and up for teens. But the staff tries to make this a fun experience for the teens, but it's a volunteering experience that's helpful for the library because they're obviously doing, volunteering and doing helpful things for us while they're there. But it's also helpful for them because they're able to put that they volunteered on job applications, on resumes, on their college applications. So it's really like full circle. It's helpful for everyone. And then for adults, they can volunteer also on our website. I would say the most popular volunteering task for adults is adopt a shelf. So that means adults can go over a certain section in the library and shelf read and just make sure everything's in order. They can also volunteer on our website to be a friend of the library.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. For our audience, for those who may be interested with volunteer work, where can we find more information about your organization?
On our website. Our website contains information about our 21 branches. It has our calendar of events. A lot of information about our services, but of course folks can sign up for our monthly newsletter and then follow us on social media, and absolutely by visiting your local branch is an excellent way.
Certainly. Well, we'll definitely be looking forward to that. Thank you so much for your time today, Jennifer.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We'll be continuing our conversation with Donna Rosowski-Koss of the Ocean County Library right after this.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers.
Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free adult education centers near you.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and If you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
School, it feels like everyone's staring at me and I'm just kind of not really a person.
It just feels hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
Try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at soundedouttogether.org.
Welcome back to Shore Support. I'm Nathan Magno, and with me now is Donna Rosinski-Cause, Dean of Library and Learning Resources at Ocean County College. A pleasure to have you with us today, Donna.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what is the overall mission of the Ocean County College Library?
The Ocean County College Library serves the information and research needs of students, faculty, and staff for OCC and also for Kane Ocean. They're welcome to use our library.
So what are the main services that you provide at the library?
Well, the library actually has faculty. It has a faculty librarian and college lecturer twos, and they teach information literacy skills. So students will come in for a session with the librarians, and they'll learn how to do research properly, to be able to vet resources to make sure that they're appropriate. And we also give advising assistance to the students, and we have regular services like interlibrary loan. If we don't have something in our library, we can borrow it. We also, a big part of our library now is to give e-resource access. We can have students set up so that they can watch streaming media in the library, and we have ebooks and audiobooks, and of course we still have print books as well.
Right, and especially because the sheer size of a library can be daunting to manage. But one of the exciting things that the Ocean County Library just went through is a renovation upgrade, modernizing many of the features that students use every day. How did you decide what areas needed improvement?
It was an interesting process. I worked with the people in the library and with facilities to determine what we thought we needed before we worked with an architecture firm. And it was a great experience because everyone in the library has their own type of expertise. So they brought what kinds of technology did we need, what should we change. And the biggest focus with the renovation was to shift from being a mid-century modern library, which had long reading tables and people were expected to sit at the tables and read books, but we needed more self-study spaces, we needed group study spaces, and we also needed to give people the ability to use our e-resources in the library. So we knew we had to do a major technology upgrade, which we did.
Especially to polish up on a lot of that convenience and that accessibility. What are some of the technological upgrades that have been implemented?
Well, first of all, I have to thank our IT and facilities departments because they did amazing work. They completely redid the internet connectivity in the library. It's, if you remember the library, it was a cinder block structure, which it still is, but it looks better now because it's been painted. But those cinder blocks were sometimes blocking Wi-Fi signals, so they redid the whole focus of how our internet works in the library, and it's much easier to access it now, which was really important.
Right, just to be able to access those e-resources more comfortably so. But especially one of the unique features that your library provides is an online chat with librarians. How does this improve communication and user experience?
Our online chat is critical to the work that we do because it allows anyone who needs to work with a librarian, whether they're on campus or off campus, to go into the chat. And one thing that's unique about our chat as opposed to Reggie is that ours has live people on the chat. It's not a robot. So if somebody does do a chat with us, we will identify ourselves and say, and I got into the habit of jokingly saying, I am a real person. And it's very interesting because people's chat questions were different based on whether you're a person or if they think that you're a robot.
Right.
Yeah.
But especially because it's that comfort and that knowledge that there's someone who acknowledges your specific question and that they can lead you through that.
Right, and another part of that that's important is if the librarian, and it's usually librarians working on the chat service, if they need to have a WebEx session with a student to show them exactly how to access material or where to look, they can do that.
And I understand that a lot of with Ocean County College Library, as you mentioned before, is geared towards research specifically to help with students at Ocean and at Keene. How does this library compare to other local branches in terms of like services provided, level of access, etc.?
Well, as an academic library, we're actually not part of the Ocean County library system, so we differ from the public libraries in specific ways, which our focus is on making sure that our collection meets the curricular needs of the courses that we're teaching. And we do work with Keene, but they of course have their own academic library in Union. So their students mostly use their services, but they're welcome to use our services as well. We have quite a few resources that, like study rooms, and some of our study rooms are video equipped. So if people need to take a webinar or be in a meeting, they can do that. And I'm sure the public libraries have that too, but not to the extent that we do.
Right.
So.
But if anyone wanted to like use this library just in their like own dedicated purposes, are all those like services like provided for like the general public?
The general public is welcome to come into our library. Our campus is open to the public, so the library is as well. And they can use any resource that we have within the library. We do not lend books to them. If we have something in our collection that they want to borrow, they would have to go through the public library and do an interlibrary loan request, and then they could borrow it. Yeah, so our services are somewhat different for the public, but they are welcome to come in. And we have a selective depository, federal depository library account. I'm sorry, I'm messing that up. It's a government documents library, which the public are welcome to come in and use that, and we actually have a government documents librarian who will work with them to help them learn to use the collection.
Oh wow, that's really cool that you have like dedicated like legal documents too in there to utilize. But especially because you mentioned before that this library is especially tuned for handling with like e-resources and digital material. What opportunities have come in terms of offering this type of material to students?
Oh, we have a wealth of riches. We have hundreds of thousands of ebooks that people can access. We have thousands of journals that people can access. And a really popular product that we were able to bring in is Overdrive, which the public libraries started with having Overdrive, and academic libraries were then invited later to use it. And it's a really excellent ebook and audiobook system that our students, faculty, and staff really love.
Oh, really? That's super cool.
Yeah.
Especially because the e-resources do help with perhaps folks who may have accessibility issues in terms of accessing that material.
Exactly.
So having different ways to interact with it is always important.
Exactly, and often when we purchase an ebook, we also purchase access to the audiobook.
And I understand that with being an academic library, that one of your core like features is having databases for several different topics in levels of research. Can you elaborate on what kind of service the databases provide?
Our databases are geared toward the curriculum needs, so we work with faculty to find out what they're covering in their courses, and we do evaluate what's in our collection every year. But with the databases specifically, that's an area where people can work with a librarian, because sometimes learning how to use the databases can be complicated, but once you've learned how to use it, they're really great resources.
Yeah, certainly, especially because it saves you a lot of time and you also get a lot of easy access compared to having to look for something in print.
Yes, I remember the print days. It was not as easy.
And so we have like that whole slew of books, but you also have dedicated study rooms that you mentioned before. What is the process to perhaps reserve a study room?
Study rooms right now, we have I think it's 10, and 4 of those are video connected, which means those rooms can be used to be in a WebEx meeting or to watch a film together. And the process for reserving those, anyone who is a student, faculty, or staff with OCC or Kane Ocean, they can reserve them online. And they can reserve it up to 2 weeks in advance. If a member of the public comes in and wants to use a study room, they can, but they have to do it on that day.
On that day.
They come up to the Access Services desk, and we look to see if there's an available space, and if there is, they can use it.
And especially because along with like the associated like technological upgrades, including for your computers, I've also noticed that on your website that those computers are aligned with several different programs, ranging from Adobe to Maya to several different coding programs. Was there any like technological upgrades made in terms of like perhaps the computers as well?
Absolutely. We got fully new computers, up to date, Macs and PCs and terminals. And I have to thank IT. They did an amazing job of making sure that they have virtual connections to the software products that students need to use, so that if they're in the library, it's easy to use it. If they're at home, it's easy to use it. And that was really, I have to thank IT. They did an amazing job.
Yeah, certainly. Especially just because having just all those programs on site really does help with like the level of work that you can do down here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were looking to do in this renovation, because previously it had been centered around the book collection, which was completely appropriate in 1994. But as we grew and had more e-resources, it became easier to use them off-site than it was in the library. So we wanted to equalize that and make it be as easy to use it on campus as it is at home.
Yeah, and especially as you just finished with these renovations, do you have any future plans or changes or even hopes as to where to go from here for the library?
We do, and I'm speaking in the general we because we talk about this a lot in the library. We are working to reach out to other areas, to student life, faculty, and students themselves to come up with programming ideas where we can use our spaces. And we now have 3 spaces in the library that you can host meetings in. We have 2 tower rooms in the clock tower, and we also have our classroom, which is the multi-purpose room. And that room seats up to 36 people, so it's a great space.
Wow, that's really cool. But that's really cool that you're looking to make like the library kind of like a more central multi-purpose hub.
Exactly.
Of course, we still want it to be a place for concentration and productivity, but you want to be able to expand kind of like the opportunities that you could do in that area.
Exactly. And in fact, our 2nd floor is still a dedicated quiet floor. So and I think sometimes people walk in and don't realize that we have a 2nd floor. And we've had people ask, like, where are your books? And we show them where the staircase is, where the elevator is. And that space has been, the 2nd floor is very well loved right now. We have a bank of acoustic paneled spaces that people can sit and they can charge their equipment while they're sitting there. Those are always full.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's wonderful to recognize that the library is not just simply a place for like study, but it's also a place simply to just, decompress.
Absolutely.
Let's just say. So for our viewers who are curious about knowing about the services that you provide, where can they find more information?
Well, we do have a library webpage. They would go on to the website and just type the word library, and they'd be able to find it. And if they are on Ocean Connect, they can sign into Ocean Connect and get to the library. It's under Student Services. You click on the plus sign, and it'll take you to the library.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for the insight today, Donna.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
We would like to send our gratitude for both guests today and the services they provide for the community. Above all else, libraries are an essential spot for our community, a place to encourage focus and productivity to help you figure out what your next step should be. For Shore Support, I'm Nathan Magno, and thank you for watching.